Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the movement. We are the movement. We're a motivational organization here to educate minds, empower, nurture, and transform. And as Annette L. Anderson so affectionately says, we are a move meant to move. She rolls her neck and everything. We are a movement to move. We're so glad you decided to join us tonight. You could have gone anywhere else, but you parked it right here with the movement. And our purpose is to help you thrust into your purpose so that you could start living your best life and win. We tapped into a winning formula. We tapped into a winner's movement and a winner's circle. And we want to invite you to be a part of that because we want to see you win. Right, Annette?
That's so right. I live in Daytona and the Speedway is out there. And I had the privilege to work there this year. And I just watched the cars go round and round. But eventually, somebody won. So we're here to let you know, regardless of what's going on in your life, you may be going round and round, but eventually you're going to get to the winning circle.
Eventually, you'll get to the winner's circle. That is so true. So we're excited about every single Wednesday because we know that our discussions are designed to be very comfortable, laid back. Feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, feel free to type into the chat box. We want to hear from you. We want you to talk to us. It's can we talk, not just can Annette and Anita talk. So we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. We want to know what's on your heart because our discussions are for you. We grab our topics that we believe will be befitting to what people are actually experiencing in their everyday lives, and we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about it without all of the hoopla, without all the pomp and circumstance, without all the shiny stockings, the high heel shoes. We'll do that all day long. But at the end of the day, when we sit down and have an intimate conversation, and that's what we want to do tonight. We do that every single Wednesday. So we thank you for coming, and we're going to jump straight into our topic for tonight. Now, question for you. Have you ever been through something that shook the very core of who you are? And you knew that not a single person that you were around could understand to the magnitude of what you were going through. Have you ever been through that? Have you ever experienced that? And if you have, I want you to type in yes or no, or I'm going through it now. Whatever your response is, I want you to respond. Because so many of us find ourselves right there. I mean, I'm talking about that kind of pain that just literally grips you. I'm talking about something that is life altering. And I've been there many times where I've had these experiences. I've gone through, the type of things that, for some people would take them out. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about my experience and how I handle some things. And, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've studied and we've pulled out. I have no idea what anybody's talking about. The inner voice, of course, because I put together the PowerPoint presentation. But as it relates to what she's going to say, we have no idea what it is with each other. So what happens in these cases, and I don't know if this has been you know that nobody around you understands what you're going through, but yet and still you still play the role. You go through the motions. How you doing? Blessed and highly favored. Blessed and highly favored. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. You smile to be polite. You're going through your everyday, motions, but on the inside, you're crying a river. You're hurt. And I'm sure all of us have experienced this at one time or another. And when it's like this, sometimes you want to scream so bad that you can't even get the scream out. All you can get out is a whimper or a whisper. Does this sound familiar? Have you actually been there? Have you experienced this? I want you to type in been there. If you've been there, type in been there. I mean hurt. And everything on the inside of you is totally not reflective of what's happening on the outside. And I'm here to tell you, it could be a number of things. Heartbreak can get you there. When your heart has been broken, God knows, oh God, he broke my heart, Lord Jesus. Heartbreak could get you there. Depression, anxiety, sorrow, and even when you feel unfulfilled,
Yeah.
when you feel inadequate, and like you don't measure up, or like you have not achieved what you thought you should, and you're not where you thought you would be. Because, you know, when we're young, we start setting up life and we'll have all these little goals. And but when I'm 22, I'm going to get married. And then when I'm so and so, by the time I'm 26, I'm going to have 2 kids. And then when I'm 28, I'm going to have a house. And then it's like, wow. So you just going to map it all out. And, you know, and when things don't happen the way we think, it's like by 22, you haven't even met anybody. It's like, oh, God. Some people get so caught up in that time warp that they start to make decisions that they're not ready for, or they put themselves in experiences that are not necessarily beneficial for you in the long run. So, you know, honestly, going through stuff like this is why we end up all with, you know, with all of these reasons that we've heard from sorrow, heartbreak, anxiety, pain, um, inadequacy, all of those things can lead to silent screams. We're great on the outside, but on the inside, we're screaming. And guess what? Nobody can hear your scream because it's silent. And this is one of the most painful experiences in the world. If you've experienced silent screams, then you have a testimony.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share our screen with you because this is this is one of them discussions. We're going to open up into our PowerPoint and we're going to go into this talk because, I have for many years, I didn't realize how many times I had experienced this until I started dealing with this lesson tonight. I started thinking back and I'm like, oh, wow, that's what that was. Oh, wow, that's what that was. And you know what, when you're, we talked about this before. I can't remember the name of the lesson. We were talking about pressure, and we dealt with the pressure cooker. Remember that one, Annette?
Yeah.
And we talked about how when you keep that stuff bottled up inside, it can blow off like a steam, like a pressure cooker.
Pressure cooker. Yeah.
And that steam, when you don't release that and it explodes, that's devastating and it's disastrous for you. So we're going to deal with that thing because a lot of times what we're dealing with in our mind and in our spirit, it's like we don't like to call it what it is. We'll say we got it for a reason. We'll say we're okay because we think, that it makes us look weak. Like, I don't want anybody to look at me like I'm pitiful. And, that's always been my thing. I never want anybody to look at me and be like, I feel sorry for you. And I get that. I get that particular phrase from a friend of mine. She passed away some years ago, Dr. Quinn. She used to always say, I don't need you to feel sorry for me. She could not stand it. And, when someone would say, oh, I feel sorry for you. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Because she didn't like to come across as pitiful. She didn't like to come across as weak or sad. So she didn't want anybody to feel sorry for her. And that's, and I feel the same way, but I wasn't, to the extent of how she handles it. But I was like, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't want you to think that you have to pity me or that you have to carry me or that you have to, that I need you to coax me. I don't need you to stroke me. I don't need to be stroked. That's me. And I think it's a part of my character. There are some people who like that. I'm not one of those people. But there have been times that, I have been in positions like this. I have been there with the heartbreak and the heartache and the sadness and the sorrow.
Yeah.
I've had to call somebody. And I've been there like in the recent days. And I'll hit somebody up and say, I just need to vent a minute. I need to vent. And I'm talking to somebody that I know is, number one, is not going to repeat my business. Number two, not going to look at me like I'm pitiful and treat me like I'm pitiful, but you're just going to listen and be prayerful with me because that is what I needed at that time. So I'm the type of person that don't like to share unless it's somebody that I, unless I really, really need to. Now, when I really, really need to, I will. So we're gonna deal with all of this tonight. So I'm gonna go straight into our PowerPoint presentation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
silent screens, let me tell you, man, it's something. It's something. And every time I look at that picture, that's how I felt on the inside. I felt just like that, but I could not express it, or I would not express it. And sometimes you just can't. Like I say, sometimes you want to scream and can't. It comes out like, have you ever had that cry? And like, are you okay? Yeah. And your voice quiver, and you got that little whimper.
Yeah.
And really on the inside, you're reaching and screaming and clawing, saying, help me, but you can't really get that thing out of your mouth. That's a tough place to be.
Yeah, it is.
So, and sometimes it's what we're feeling in our heart is what I want you to understand. We're going to go straight into our point. I'm going to bring her down here. Sometimes it's rage, because we'll be angry or we'll be passionate. And passion can sometimes come across as rage. Rage is that violent and uncontrolled anger that, I'm going to look at this. I always look at stuff in two tenses, and this is not even my word tonight, but I'm dealing with it from a perspective of, of the noun. Is that is a place of insanity or an intense feeling of passion where you feel like this need to have wrath on whatever it is that you're dealing with. And sometimes when you're passionate about something, you become so angry because it's not shaping up the way you thought it was supposed to. This thing was supposed to pan out this way. I was supposed to be here. This business was supposed to be there. My ministry was supposed to be thriving. And we talk about this all the time, and we get this rage in our heart. And this is what we want to deal with tonight. We're dealing with a raging heart. That's our first. But before we can get there, I want to deal with our word. Now, y'all know I got to go there. Every week I'm going there with that verb. We're dealing with it intransitively and transitively. Intransitively, it just is. It needs no motion. It just is. Just like, and I always use this particular passage of scripture because this is where that whole revelation came to me when I dealt with Deuteronomy 1:6, when God said, you have dwelt here long enough.
Oh, yeah.
That word dwelt meant you have set here long enough. That means set as in cement, like it's a stamp of approval. It's set. So I'm like, what does that mean? You have set here long enough, S-E-T. And then later on it says, turn and go because I have set the land before you. Now the word set, S-E-T, was there, but the word in the previous passage was dwelt. But when you look it up in the lexicon, both words have the same meaning. It means set, but one was intransitive and the other was transitive. The word set, dwelt, meaning set, meant that it just was. Everything on the other side belongs to you. But you're sitting here and submit as though you don't have to go get it. But it is. It is. You dwelt here long enough. But on the other side, he said, turn and go, because I have set the land before you, meaning everything that you have on the other side, nothing that's between you and it can stop you from attaining it because it's already set. So when we deal with the word scream from an intransitive state, it's a voice of a sudden loud cry or a harsh high tone. But the one that I want to make you understand is that it means to speak or write with intense or hysterical emotion. And when I look at that, it's like, oh man, because we have those silent conversations, the ones that go on in our mind. And sometimes we paint a picture of defeat before we even step into that thing. We start painting the picture in our mind and we're screaming, oh God, it's not gonna work. I'm never gonna have. Why haven't you delivered me from this? Why? We start screaming in our mind and in our heart before it comes out of our mouth. And then what comes out of our mouth is contaminated. Because the Bible says, well, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we contaminate the spirit with our mind just spewing foolishness, what comes out of our mouth, we can't take it back. And it still has power. The power of life and death are in the tongue. So when you speak defeat, you're speaking it powerfully. Now, transitively, it means to call something to mind very strongly and clearly. Meaning, when you call something to mind, it means that you're calling that thing into attention. You're calling it to attention. Very strong, very clear. This is what it is. So I want us to get to the place that where our scream has value, it has logic and it has value. That when you do scream, you scream the right stuff. And first you got to deal with the mind. We talk about that all the time. Those limiting beliefs and that defeat and that, I ain't never, won't ever, you ain't never, how come I ain't never? We have to get all of those phrases out of our mind and start speaking those things that are not as though they were, and start speaking the things that were promised. But we very rarely put ourselves in that position. We go to the defeat mode, and that's where I was. I was the worst. I would think of the worst possible scenario. And I couldn't stand it that somebody that used to say this around me, well, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. I'm not playing nothing with the devil. Never let that come out of my mouth. I would be that for myself, because in my mind, I'll think something, I'm like, boy, that would be so good if that could happen. Oh, I don't know why I can't never just have a moment of peace. And I started having these things in my mind. And I used to say that, God, can I just have 2 or 3 days? No, I don't want 2 or 3 days. I want the rest of my life. You are able to do abundantly above all that we could ask or think. Because, when you're in that moment and you're having that raging heart, it feels like it is completely unbearable. But I want to give you a word of encouragement today. You're designed to carry what's allowed. God will not put more on you than you can bear. And if you're going through it, it's because you were designed to carry that, because you were designed for the blessing that's coming after that. And that is the truth. You're designed for that blessing. So you're designed to carry what's allowed. You were allowed to go into that storm. You were allowed to deal with that situation. Now, you may have chosen it against God's will, but you were allowed. And if you chose it, then deal with it. Hey, I have chosen some stuff. But guess what? Couldn't nobody deal with it but Anita, because Anita was designed to carry it.
Yeah.
I had to carry it. Now, I want you to be aware of something, because a lot of times we'll have this silent scream, and it'll be because we have done, which, oh gosh, I am so speaking to myself tonight. We have done what, oh my God, what this next point says. And I know it's a weird one. It says Uber stress. I take Uber a lot. I'll call, I get out, I take on my phone. I'll call an Uber to be up to the airport. I take Uber a lot. I ride Uber because at this season of my life, I don't have a car because I waited. I decided to wait after my car was killed by the tow truck a few months ago. And I'm one who don't like to come up off the money. And I'm like, I'm going to wait. And I will Uber because I work at home. I don't have to really go anywhere. I order my groceries. But when I do go somewhere, I call an Uber. It's cheaper than a car fare than it ever was. So I Uber. But guess what we do? We Uber stress. We Uber other people's stuff, other people's affairs. They can just pick up the phone and press the Uber button, and there we go, trotting over there to pick it up and carry it back. It's one thing for somebody to call in the elders of the church when they want you to pray with them, but it's a whole nother thing when you allow yourself to go and Uber their stress and bring it right on back to your house. We have to learn to not let the the situations and the problems of other people become ours. Because
Yeah.
when we do that, we cloud our mind, our thinking, and we crowd our heart, and it becomes raging. And then you mad. You mad because they're upset and they're hurt. You ever had this one? Your friend is mad at her boyfriend. He hurt her. He was wrong to her. He cheated on her. He jumped on her. He did whatever. He spent all her money. Whatever it was that he did. And you are angry with him. Oh, you mad. Oh, how could he do this? She done called the Uber in the midnight hour. You like, I'm coming, girl. You want to go? Hey, where you at? Where you at? You ready to go and beat him down. So you go all the way over there and you bring all of that stress, you Uber driver, you bring it all the way back and you fester, you home, you sulking, you mad, jaws swollen full of air, arms folded. And it take a lot to frown to be mad. And that spoke about that one time, like how many muscles it takes to frown. And oh, you just frowning and angry and mad, I can't stand him. And then the next day, you see her and him on Instagram holding hands. Man, what? You know, Uber her junk all the way back to your heart. And now your heart is raging. And they cool. So we have to learn not to Uber stress. And even when you are dealing with somebody who's dealing with some serious problems, and there are, you know, and there are times my heart breaks and it goes out to people. And I help anybody. You know, I used to be that one. Brenda used to tell me all the time, your Mother Teresa, you know, you attract the darndest people. Do you have to go and bring in everyone? And my ex-husband used to say, he used to call them, oh, any person that was hanging around the tour or something, he would make this statement, oh, they just some stray cats that need a drug in. Like, why they gotta be stray cats? But I will find myself holding on to everybody's stuff. So not only do I have my stuff, but I have everybody else's. Yeah. I have everybody else's stuff. But I'm here to tell you, and we talked about this, about that steaming pot. I want to encourage all of you that whatever it is, and I want you guys to type this in. Go to your chat. I want you to type in these words. Let it go. Just let it go. I know it's difficult. I know it's painful. I know they did you wrong. I know it seems like you can't figure it out. Oh, but you don't understand. I can't pay my bills. Hey, we all been there. We've all experienced it. But when you can't control it, you have to let it go, because how else can God do anything for you with that situation if you're holding on to it? If you're determined to hold on to that thing, then you can never be delivered from it. You have to learn to let it go. Just let it go. Woo, that's some good stuff. I'm telling you, I wish, you know, and I'm sure people told me that back in the day. I ain't listening.
We never do.
What you said that?
We never do.
I know, but you know what? You learn. I think it comes with wisdom. But if I would have taken some of this stuff in, like to the magnitude that I know now, it would have saved me a lot of heartache. But I chose to have a raging heart because I didn't want to let it go. And I carry everybody else's in mind. And I didn't realize that, you know, okay, you're designed to carry what's allowed, not everybody else's stuff. Because when you bring all of that extra stuff on, that's not your storm. That's not your problem. You pray and you love and you show love. If they need something and you can help them, you provide. But guess what? At some point, when you go home, you have to learn to let it go and not bring that back to your place of peace and bring that back to your heart. Doesn't mean you won't think about them, that you won't, you know, care about them and check on them, because you should, but you can't carry it. You can't. And I carried so many people's problems because I was always trying to be Miss Fix It. You can't fix everything. You are not the fixer. It's not for you to fix. Sometimes people need to trust God. They need to learn to trust God. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes you are led to be the one that God uses, but you have to know when that's that time. But if you have a tendency and you're prone to uber stress, like the girl here talking to you, then you need to like check that, because I had to check it. So Just wanted to put that in your heart, people.
Can you hear me now?
Hmm?
Can you hear me now?
I'm messing with you.
Can you hear me? I know it. That's why I want to say, can you hear me now? Have you ever been in your life where you were hurting so bad and you don't understand why nobody can see you, why nobody can hear you crying, why nobody can discern what you're going through?
Oh, that's a painful existence when you want
Yeah,
somebody to hear you.
yeah, and you don't know really how to articulate it, and you don't want to seem like you're being whiny, but you just want somebody to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times in our lives we go through and it's like, can somebody hear me? And a lot of times we talk so much that we can't even hear people. People trying to tell us how they feel and we just talk over them.
Mm.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of doing it. And people are just crushed and devastated. So tonight I want to talk about a couple of things that I've experienced personally. So it's a personal journey for me
Mm-hmm.
on tonight. It's one thing to tell somebody something that you heard about, but it's another thing to tell them what you walked through.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, there were times I'd even walk, there were times I actually had to crawl through some stuff, but at the end of the day, I made it.
Mm.
So the first thing is silence speaks volumes. Silence speaks volumes. If you really pay attention to people, you see a change in their mood. If they're acting a little anxious, agitated, withdrawn, fatigued, and you see them depressed and mood swings, that silence is speaking volumes. There's something going on. There's something on the inside that being manifested on the outside. And so even though that person is quiet, in their quietness, it's screaming. It's a silent scream saying, I need help. I need somebody to come get me. I need somebody to reach down and grab me out of this abyss. And I've been there where, especially when I was really, really, really in church, and I can remember sitting on the pew. And at the time, Anita, we were sitting on the front row, with our collars on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there and I was really, really hurting. And I'm thinking, and I believe the word and I believe what the Bible talks about discernment. And I'm like, you mean to tell me nobody can discern what I'm going through? Because I always smile, but that just meant that was just a mechanism to hide the pain. So silence speaks volumes. When you're around people, pay attention, especially when you have close friends or your children or spouse or whatever. If you see something a little awful, that's that silence that's screaming at you.
That's so true, Annette, because sometimes, like I just typed this in, sometimes people are crying out, but we don't sense it.
Yeah.
And, there's many signs
Yeah.
to that,
It really is. And this is suicide month.
Mm-hmm.
This is a month they set aside, and they've been talking about it. And I saw on social media what his preacher, I think he was like 30 years old, and he's an associate pastor somewhere, and he killed himself. The signs were there. We can't always.
After suicide, did you see the signs? Why is that?
I don't know, because I think after suicide, then you become aware. Because to be fair to people, sometimes we're so caught up in our own stuff that we can't see.
True.
We can't see, and it's not that you don't care, that it's not that you don't love people, but we can't see it. And so after you be like, and all of a sudden you start going back in your head because you're trying to remember and go back and backtrack and say, what did this happen? This happened, and then you begin to see the signs. But sometimes we have our own silent scream. We can't hear your scream because our scream is so loud.
Mm-hmm.
Your scream. We all got to scream. It's just so loud. So silence speaks volumes. But also, we're silent on the outside, but broken on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
We walk around as broken people. But you have to understand something about brokenness. Brokenness, it has a crack that can allow light to come in. So when you broke, there's a little crack, just a little crack, just enough to get light in there. And some of us just need light. Some of us need to come out of the darkness. Some of us need to read the word. Some of us need to, get out of that house, get out of that dark room, come out, get some light. So if we can allow light to come in that crack, and so many have done it. I've done it where I've been depressed and I go in the dark room and I don't want light. But because I'm broken, there's just enough space for light to get in there. But that means that you have to get off your bed of affliction. You gotta say, I'm not feeling the best, but I gotta do something about this. And life exists outside of your brokenness. You're broke, but it's not the end of your world. Wonder why when we are broken, we think, oh, this is it. It's over. Oh God, just get the castle, get my outfit and just put me in there and bury me. But we think life it ends, but life exists beyond your brokenness. So even though you're going through a broken period, it's life after this. And remember to focus past your brokenness. You got to focus past where you are, but because this too shall pass. But we get so embedded in that. It's almost like you get stuck in brokenness. You get stuck in that. And a lot of us, we don't want to be rescued. A lot of us like being in brokenness. Because brokenness, even though it hurts, is still sort of a safe place. Because at least here in this spot, I don't have to worry about nobody coming in and hurting me anymore. So we use brokenness as a place to hide and a place, to be there and not allow people to come in, not allow the light to come in. And so we are silent on the outside, but we're so broken. You see people beautiful, dressed to the nine. I've sometimes God allowed me to feel certain things what people go through. And I'm talking about people who you think, never think because you see somebody you think got it going on that they're not broken. There are people, last few years, it's been at least 3 or 4 famous people who committed suicide. And on the outside, it looked like they had it together. They had money, they had fame, they had it going on, but they were broken. And, the comedian I love that man. I love his comedy, but he was a broken man. And so we heard words come out of his mouth was to make other people laugh. But then on the inside, he was crying. So silent outside, broken inside. But also no escape. If you know anything about a silent scream, have you ever hit your toe or your knee and you open your mouth and nothing comes out? Your mouth is just open. There's no escape because of the pain is so great that the sound can't even come out your mouth. The sound, so there's no escape. You feel like there's no way out. There's no way to turn. So it appears, life will tell you, it appears to be no escape. But there are some things that you can't escape in life. One of the things you can't, if you get into the next level in your life, you can't escape hard work. It's truly, if you work hard enough, it's going to pay off. You can't escape aging. It's just a natural process. You can't escape change. So change is constant. Change is coming whether you like it or not. You cannot escape failure because what failure does, it points you to success. Because if you've never had a failure, you never really understand and would enjoy the success. So anytime I fail, what that does is say, okay, you failed, but okay, keep going. Go to the right because it's there. So there's some things that you can't escape in life. But you don't have to be in pain. You don't have to stay in that place. Because you say, can you hear me? Now, God hears you. And if you open your mouth and allow the sound to come out, trust me, somebody cares. Find somebody that you can talk to. Find somebody you trust and tell them. And for the people that I pray for, that when that person comes, that you'll listen. Like I said earlier, we don't hear sometimes because we talk so much. Somebody's trying to tell us something, but we already got the answer before they even get through telling us what's going on. So we have to learn that these people feel like there's no escape. So if you ever get to that point, for some people, the only way out may be, to commit suicide. Maybe the only way out is to withdraw. Don't say, you know what, that's it. I'm through with them. I'm through with them jokers. I'm not talking to them no more. And then they cause themselves to get in a place And sometimes, Anita, when you get in a place, there's some place in life, there's some darkness in life, it's hard to find your way back from.
Okay.
You have to really fight. That's why I said no escape, because it appears in the mind, in your mind, that there's no escape.
Mm-hmm.
But I dare, if you allow the light to come in your brokenness, that you will persevere and you will get to the next level of your life. And the next thing is mouth moving. I remember used to say talking loud and saying nothing. Your mouth is moving. Have you ever been where somebody was talking, right? And I'm looking at them and I don't hear nothing what they're saying. So a lot of times our mouth is moving, but there's nothing coming out. There's nothing of substance. Our mouth is moving, but nobody hears us. Our mouth is moving, but it don't seem like nobody's there. I don't know. I can remember talking and I'm talking to my friends, but I'm really not saying anything. My mouth my mouth is moving, but it's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
But it is moving. And I have been to the place in my life where I have been so consumed in a dark place that I thought I was really talking, but it was really in my head. Because depression would do to you. Depression would thinking that your mouth and you're really talking.
Okay.
Not. Depression will take you to a dark place. Depression will tell you that you're going to stay here, never recover. This is where you're going to be. This is your safe place. So I want to know tonight, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear my screams? Can you hear my frustration? Can you actually hear my tears as they drop in my heart? Because so many times we're crying in our heart and nobody sees it. So silence speaks volumes, and you're silent on the outside, but you're so broken on the inside. But we declare tonight that you don't have to stay in that broken place. Whatever that place is, just know there. And even though I have no escape, because that's what you're saying in your mind, but I'm here to let you know there is a way of escape. Just allow some light to come in your life. Open those curtains up. Go to walk around the corner, do something, and begin to ask God to get you out that dark place and know your mouth is not moving because your heart is speaking. So can you hear me now? Go to the next one. How are you doing? So many times people ask you that question and you say, I'm doing good. I'm everything's okay, you know. Yeah. How your mama fine, you know, how everything. Oh yeah, everything's fine. And we do that. We answer that question. I'm doing okay, and everything's going okay, and you know the birds are singing, and you know when I walk out the door, the sun is shining. My life is so good, but no, it's not, because you still have that silent screen. You still have that place that you have not conquered, that you have not allowed the light of God to come into it. So the first thing is the calm before the storm. Now, when you look at storms, a lot of times in the natural, before the storms, you'll see birds that flee. You'll see birds flying away because the birds recognize there's something going on.
They sure do.
Yeah, the bird's going to go to another place, you know. And growing up, the scent in the air changes. There's something different in the air. And then you also hear the dog, my dog get nervous when that happens. So when that happens, the calm before the storm begins to happen. So really what happens is it becomes quiet and peaceful. It's a quiet and peaceful period, the calm before the storm. It looks like everything's okay. It looks like things are coming together. Even when you, with the storm that just passed, when it first started, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. It looked like, oh, it's going to be okay. And that's how it is. And all of a sudden it came with a vengeance and it set over Bahamas and demolished it. And that's how life will do you. Everything looked like it's okay. It's a calm before the storm. And then all of a sudden something comes and demolish you and take you out of your league and take you to the next level and cause you, like this lady here on the screen, to hold your head and begin to scream out to God. I don't know how many of you been there, but I've been there. I've been there. Yeah, I've had it seems calm, but you know what? I saw it coming, but I didn't know what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the change. I saw the birds flying. I knew a change was coming. I smelled something was going on in the air, but I didn't know what to do about it. So I had to wait it out, the calm before the storm. And finally, again, we asked the question, how are you doing? And we say, I'm fine. But really, we're not fine. Fine is defined as frantic. It's excited and chaotic. It's beside yourself. I is for insecure, not confident, uncertainty. N is just that you're crazy. It's nuts. You're just crazy. And E is for emotion. You get all worked up and agitated. So when you tell people you're fine, you telling them I'm frantic, insecure, nuts, and emotional. You telling them this thing is driving me crazy, but I'm telling you I'm fine because that's being politically correct. I want everybody to think I got it together. I don't want nobody to know that I'm jacked up and I'm tore up from the floor up. So I'm going to tell you I'm doing fine. Everything is I'm doing great and everything is okay. So tonight I want to ask you, how are you doing? How are you really doing?
Mm-hmm.
How is life treating you? Are you smiling on the outside and you got that with me? Like I'm saying, it's almost like I'm sort of like the Joker, the smile. He has a smile that never goes away, but you know, he was a mean and nasty Joker. Well, I'm not mean and nasty, but I have this smile that I think I was almost born with it. So it looks like I'm doing fine, which means okay. But actually I was doing fine, which means I was frantic, insecure, nuts, and emotional. So
Wow.
how are you doing tonight? How are you doing? Are you doing fine or are you doing fine?
Mm.
And also, silent is the new loud. You know how they say the 60 is the new 40. So I'm 60, so I get, you know, I'm the new,
Right now, you
I'm the
better be in
new,
the new
I'm the
40.
new 40. But silent is the new loud because we live in a time like when I was growing up, you know, we had times when certain things you couldn't talk about, but I could tell my mother stuff. I felt comfortable saying certain things. But we live in a time now that we become silent. We don't trust people anymore. We don't because by the time I tell you at 9 o'clock what my problem is by 9:15, everybody on social media knows. So silent is the new loud. So we tend to say, you know what, I'm going to keep this to myself because, see, I don't trust that joker. I don't trust that sister. But you know what? Silence is also an important mechanism too.
Mm-hmm.
Because with silence, you become wise, according to Proverbs 10 and 9, I think is he who holds his tongue is wise. So silence, sometimes when you're quiet, you're a little wise because you know what my mom used to say, if you can't say nothing nice, just don't say nothing. So sometimes it's good that you're quiet. It's good that you're silent. And you can't help those who need help if you don't listen. Sometimes you just got to bring it down and listen. People need to have you hear them. Silence brings a reflection. When you're silent, like when I'm silent and when I'm meditating, it brings reflection. I'm able to sit back and I'm able to say, breathe and say, okay, you know, this happened, that happened, but I'm able to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And silence is a non-verbal language. Because see, my mom didn't say anything, and I know probably most of our mom did this. My mother, all she had to do was look at me. She gave you that look, and don't be showing out. Oh, and God forbid if you're showing out in church. You already know if they don't come slap you then, you already know. So growing up, my mom just had that look. And sometimes silence is important because you need to stop, listen, shut it down, be quiet, because somebody needs you to hear them. And I, personally, Anita, I will talk over you in a minute. When I
Mm-hmm.
be talking to my client, they be talking, I say, okay, yeah, they be trying to tell me, so, yeah, yeah. But you know what? Sometimes I'm asking God to help me with it because I want you to go ahead and get whatever you got to tell me, get it out. You
Mm-hmm.
know? But sometimes people need to just have you listen. You may not be able to do nothing about it, but just say, Anita, can I talk to you? ABC, this is going on. There are things I can tell Anita, I can tell Sharon, I can't tell everybody else because immediately they start judging. And so people stay silent because they know if I tell her,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to hurt me. And there's certain things I promise you, people don't want other people to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do, they just hold that inside. And that's where the quiet scream comes. That's where the heartache comes. That's where the pressure comes because that's pressure. And, people go into depression and, become sick in their bodies. And we have to learn how to release that silent scream. Our mouth is open as nothing's coming out. And finally, we have to have hope. I got hope. If I don't have nothing else, I got to have hope. And hope simply means this to everybody who's on here and to everybody who may listen to this later, just know there's hope. And hope means this: hold on, pain ends.
Mm.
Hold on, pain ends. So I don't care what you're going through. I'm here to let you know if you hold on, the pain will end.
Yes, it was.
Hold on. The storm come, the calm before the storm. You're doing fine, and silent is a new loud. But I got hope. And if you would just type this in the chat saying, "I got hope. I got hope because I'm holding on. The pain will end." So regardless of what you're going through, I'm here to I'm here tonight to tell you, hold on. Pain ends. May not look like it, may not feel like it. You may be like those, I was talking about the birds with the calm before the storm. The birds, you may see the birds flying and you may sense something in the air
Mm-hmm.
and it may hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You may be doing fine, but still hold on. Pain ends. How you doing?
How you doing? Wow. But you know what? And the thing is, this is a serious topic tonight. But in
Yeah.
all of it, we have to find that silver lining.
Yeah.
And and sometimes we just have to dig deep and go there and make ourselves um, you know, feel and be able to express that we actually deal with this stuff. I'm telling you, and I was telling people at the top of the hour that I had to do this week. I had to call on somebody to hear me, and I could hear me scream. I needed to scream, and that's like we say it from a literal place, but your place of screaming sometimes is just to talk about it or to let it off, or to vent,
Yeah. Yeah.
it off the steam. And I needed to have my own moment to scream. And when you do that, it relieves so much pressure. Because
Mhm.
the thing is, like Annette said, hold on, pain ends. It does end. It comes to an end. And the funny thing was, I didn't even know that was her point. I didn't know what hope meant. I knew she had an acronym because she had the dots. But I can tell you, we never discussed
No. No.
our thing. And my final point was after the pain.
Wow.
When we get,
Wow.
I pulled that. My cousin has a song, After the Pain.
How awesome is that?
I know, but I didn't even know you were doing hold on
I
pain.
know.
So now we're, because after the pain, we go through the process because we know that it's like after fresh rain. We talked about this last week when we dealt with the storm. Peace be still. And
Hmm.
after that rain, that's a time of replenishing and growth and rebuilding. And even after a fresh like a nice rainstorm, when it's just a regular thunderstorm, not that devastating thing that just tore up Abaco Island, is still gut wrenching. But after a rain, you smell that nice fresh smell. Because the one thing to understand is that even though you're going through it, because at the time it doesn't seem like it. God knows I have. Oh my God! If I can share with y'all some of the stuff that I've experienced, and the people who know what I'm going through, like Annette and like Brenda, people who have seen me at my lowest, where I've been able to expose myself and say I'm hurting or I'm sad or I don't know how long I could carry this. I have been there, and I had to get to the point that I learned that even though it didn't feel like it, God heard every scream. He heard every scream. Your screams didn't go unheard. Everybody on here, no matter what you've dealt with, or if you're going through something right now, your screams are not going unheard. God hears everything you utter and don't utter, because he hears all the way down in that secret place. You might be able to fool us sometimes, but you can never fool God. He knows and hears every whimper. Just like we talk about how you can't even get that scream out, that it just comes out like a whimper. You okay? You got that little whimper, and you want to go, no, I can't. It's like you want to scream, but you can't. But God hears even that. He hears like that silent screaming they're talking about when you stump your toe. But one of the funniest things, and I say funny because I have a funny story about it, about when a baby, like my niece, my Valerie's daughter, she's like 29 or something now. When she was a baby, young people with kids. Her mama brought her on my porch, and she didn't lock her carrier. Didn't know, ain't know nothing. Brand new baby. I don't even know if Ashley was a month old. Maybe a month, maybe 2 months old, because we had them old fashioned mamas that make you stay home with the baby. So she may have been a couple of months old. She brought her to my house, and I grabbed the carrier like, oh, and the baby flipped out the carrier. Onto the floor Ashley went, and she had that cry that was like, where there was no sound. And those cries, sometimes we have a cry like that where it's like, it's hurt, it hurts so bad because the poor baby was hurt. But she couldn't even get that scream out. It was a while before the scream had audibility. And sometimes we find ourselves screaming like that, but it didn't go unheard. God heard the scream. He heard it, because now you're in the process of healing, of refreshing, of rejuvenating, because you are dealing with your life after the pain. And after the pain, you then realize like, oh, God didn't answer my prayer. Because sometimes I go through stuff and I have this like hard pain in the pit of my stomach, and I say, God, I don't want to feel this. And I'm talking to him just like that. I need you to take this thing from my stomach, this lump out of my throat, that fear. I cannot function with that. You need to take that. And I'll ask him to take it, and the next day is a little duller. And each day it gets less and less painful. And then I'm like, oh, you don't even feel it anymore. And you don't even remember when you didn't feel it. It's because he heard you. He heard you. I had pain. I know I was dealing with tendonitis or something. I couldn't even pick up a bottle of water. My arm was hurting so bad, and I was so broke I couldn't pay attention. I didn't even have medical insurance. I'm like, I'm tired of going to the emergency room. They ain't going to do nothing to give me painkillers. And so I'm like, I'm not going around doing anything. I'm taking authority. I laid hands on myself, took authority over the pain. I don't know when it stopped. I don't, because it just left. And that's when you know that you have been heard. And it's after the fact, it's after the pain that you realize your screams didn't go unheard. God heard every last one of them. And no matter how painful that situation is, there is life after the pain, because you will survive. You have survived. You are here. You survived it. You didn't think you were going to make it. You didn't think that you could ever love again. Oh, you didn't think that you could ever get past, some of the things that you got past. You didn't think you'd ever survive. You didn't think you could ever rebuild. You didn't think you'd ever get another house. You didn't think you'd ever get another apartment, another car. You didn't think you'd ever get it. Because, and then after the situation has passed, you realize you survived that thing. You are still standing. Remember what we talked about in the beginning, because you were designed to carry what was allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you carried it, you're experiencing that after the pain moment. You're experiencing it because it's wonderful. But then when you're there, you have to make sure that you check yourself and replenish yourself the right way. And when you're praying those prayers and you're like, and you're giving God the glory, I'm here to tell you right now, you need to start putting up some blockers and some prevention. I tell people all the time, I teach voice every day. Don't come to me when you're hoarse, because I tried to get you to do the stuff that was going to prevent you from having these problems. Now you're in the middle of a record deal and the label is coming down on you. You got tour, you have to go in the studio and you can't sing. Now you want to call me for a miracle. I can't work that miracle. You need rest. So the best thing is to prevent it from happening. And when we go into prevention mode, that's when we check ourselves. I want a clean heart and a right spirit. God, renew a clean heart and a right spirit in me, so that I don't end up here again. Because if I sense myself in anything similar or in a storm, I always think that, well, God, you brought me through that. And you brought me through that, and I know you can bring me through this. But I check myself because I don't want to end up there again. I've been there too many times. I'm like, I'm not doing it. He said, you dwelt here long enough. Mm-hmm. Turn and go. It's time to get what's over there. Go get your milk and honey and stop following around this food. But a lot of times we do. We just don't get it. And then the thing is, once you realize you're after the pain now, your screams didn't go unheard, you survive, you're cleaning up your act, you got a right spirit, you know you're doing the right thing, you know, you put down all the foolishness. You know, it's something when you check yourself. When you know you ain't been right, you know you ain't been honest, you know you sowed bad seed, you know what you did, and you know you're wrong. Check you. Ain't nobody there but you and God. But oftentimes we like to keep the foolishness alive. We like to keep the lie alive. We like to keep the charade up going, because we don't want everyone else to look at us as though we have not done what we said we did. Mm-hmm. But you're not fooling anybody but yourself, because on the outside, everybody knows. You ever seen a person like that? It's like everybody else knows that you didn't really, I had a friend who used to always say, yeah, I bought a house and we were like kicking each other under the table because we know we didn't. But it's like, did we have the heart to say you really didn't? But you're around people that you don't know, so you're going to tell the lie, and we just sitting there, we kicking each other under the table. Why is he telling this lie? Because truthfully, everybody there, if we had sense, could look at this person, know your story, and know that something in the milk ain't clean. You say you own this and that and this, and you've done this and that, you've been here and there, but your life doesn't reflect that. So you're not hurting anyone but yourself. So when you get after those painful situations, don't hold on to that stuff that got you there. Yeah. Don't hold on to the bad blood, the bad relationship, that bad junk that you just put all in your spirit. You renew your mind. You pray a prayer of forgiveness and like, Lord, forgive me for getting myself in that situation. Forgive me for getting all them credit cards. Forgive me, God, for doing this and that. Forgive me, God. I had to ask God for forgiveness for letting my body get out of whack. I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get here? But thank God, on 125 pounds on this side of the journey, it feels really good, because you know what? I have a made up mind. I have a clean heart and a right spirit about that, and it will not get me again, and I will complete the task, because I am living after the pain. And when you're living after the pain, you can take a nice inhale and just breathe. You ever done a sigh? I call it an idle down in my voice lessons, because when your anxiety is high and your emotions are high, your diaphragm is moving faster, and you're breathing faster, and you start to have anxiety. Your heart is beating, and you're feeling fluttered and flustered. So I always tell, like a lot of times my students are nervous and they're doing their little exercises and they can't hardly breathe, and I can tell that the diaphragm exercise is killing them. And in between every exercise, I'll say, now idle down. And I want everybody to do the idle down for me. You take a deep breath and just let out some sound. We can't hear you. So just let some sound out. A nice deep breath. It's almost like a woo-saw. And when you do that, everything calms down. I have done that so much that I was with a trainer one time. She was killing me. And she was talking to me, and I'm trying to talk to her, and I'm thinking, I'm like, is this really a joke? You want to talk to me while I'm on the treadmill? So I'm just, that's the Fat Albert music. I'm just walking. And she's talking to me for about 20 minutes. She's just like, Anita, I'm talking to you and you're not even winded. I said, it's because I know how to work my diaphragm. I know how to breathe. So because I'm having this conversation with you, I don't want to be like, yeah, because so I would idle down while she's talking. And when it was time for me to talk, my heart rate and everything would go down, and I would be able to function a little more. So I knew how to manipulate that whole process because I teach it a lot. So I want to tell you that when you're having those moments, just take a moment and breathe. Just inhale and breathe, because you have to let off that steam. And after the pain, you can breathe a whole lot easier.
Yes.
Now that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. So right now, we just want to, we're at the point now, we're at the end, but we want to open up, the opportunity for anybody on here to unmute themselves and speak. Because a lot of times, we'll sit and hold it. Y'all hold it on here. You turn off your camera. Don't open up your microphone. You don't speak. You don't say, hey, don't raise your hand. But we want to give you the opportunity to say something, because we do that every Wednesday anyway. We open up the opportunity to say, well, why don't you come on and say something? Why don't you say something? So at this point, and I hadn't been doing it lately, but I'm going to turn off our recording, because we are recording for those who are going to watch this later. And I'm going to turn off the recording, and hopefully we'll get some people to say something. So I'm ending the recording now.